In the heart of the eastern highlands of Africa, far from any modern road or map, lay the village of Lulama, a place carved from memory and myth. Its homes were made of red clay, with thatched roofs and decorative symbols etched along their walls, symbols said to keep the spirits away. The village was embraced by crimson cliffs that blazed under the sun and forests so thick they whispered to one another at night. Here, time moved slower, the winds spoke the language of ancestors, and every shadow carried a story. At the very center of Lulama stood a fig tree unlike any other. Towering and twisted, its bark was dark and scarred, its roots bulging from the ground like veins of the earth itself. Elders claimed the tree was older than the village, planted by the first ancestor, blessed by the rain gods. Birds never nested in it, children were warned never to climb it, and at night, when the wind shifted, some claimed you could hear the tree breathing. It was the heart of the village, and the source of its dread. The millet harvest had ended, and joy danced on the wind. Laughter rang out as children raced through the square, their bare feet kicking up red dust. Colorful fabrics fluttered, drums echoed from behind the clay homes. Women balanced baskets of roasted maize and sweet mango slices. Beneath the fig tree's shade, young Maya twirled in her new orange dress, chasing fireflies and humming festival songs. No one saw the shadow inching closer to the roots, waiting. And then, silence. One moment Maya's laughter was the loudest song in the village. The next, it was gone, swallowed by the fig tree's stillness. No scream, no cry, just the hush of rustling leaves and a sudden chill in the air. Yelena turned, her heart skipping, scanning the dancing crowd. But her daughter was no longer there. The ground felt heavier, the drums stopped, the sun seemed to dim. That night, the villagers gathered with sorrow on their tongues. A fire burned in the center, casting flickering shadows across tear-streaked faces. The elders spoke of the curse, one child every 10 years, always during the first full moon after the harvest. Mothers clutched their children tightly, fathers looked to the heavens, searching for answers. But Yelena sat alone near the fig tree, her eyes hollow, whispering her daughter's name again and again into the wind. Sleep became Yelena's only refuge, and even that was haunted. In dreams, the fig tree loomed larger, its branches reaching like fingers toward her. Voices echoed beneath its bark, soft, childlike, pleading. "Mama." The wind would carry. "Come find me." The dream always ended the same, with Yelena standing at the edge of the roots, Maya's red ribbon trapped beneath the soil, waving like a warning. 10 seasons passed, but Yelena remained. Her hair, once dark as riverstone, now held streaks of moonlight. Her hands were calloused from carving memories into the earth. Every night, she returned to the fig tree, humming the lullabies of her mother, telling the tree stories of Maya's favorite songs. Her laugh, her stubborn spirit. She was no longer waiting for the village to understand. She was waiting for the tree to listen. On the 10th anniversary of Maya's vanishing, the earth quivered, just slightly. Chickens squawked, dust rose in faint clouds, and beneath the fig tree, a low groan rumbled through the roots. Only Yelena noticed. Her heart pounded like the old drums. That night, her dream returned, clearer. "I see the light now, Mama," Maya whispered, "but the roots won't let me go." At dawn, Yelena rose with new resolve. She wrapped Maya's red cloth around her wrist, the last remnant of her child. She took a small gourd of water and the knife her husband once carved for her. Barefoot, she walked to the fig tree, stepping across a decade of pain. Her shadow stretched long before her, and for the first time, the tree seemed to shiver as she approached. With trembling hands, she carved a line across her palm and pressed it against the fig's bark. "You took her," she whispered, her voice low but fierce. "You felt my grief. You fed on it. Take me instead. Let her go." The leaves trembled, the wind picked up, and the roots beneath her feet shifted with ancient hunger. With a thunderous crack, the base of the fig tree split, releasing a burst of light and dust. Gasps erupted as villagers ran to witness the impossible. From the roots rose a small figure, barefoot, covered in earth, her eyes blinking against the morning sun. It was Maya, exactly as she had vanished, untouched by time. The village fell to its knees. The curse had been broken, or traded. Yelena rushed forward, tears flowing freely. She dropped to her knees, clutching her daughter in an embrace that was both joy and sorrow. Maya's voice was soft. "I followed your song, Mama. I heard you every night." As the villagers watched, Yelena's body gently crumpled to the ground, a peaceful smile on her lips. Her spirit had waited just long enough to bring her child home. By morning, the tree was gone. Where once it had cast its long shadow over generations, now there remained only a ring of white ash. The land was silent. No birds, no wind. The curse was lifted, but the cost was engraved in the soil. A mother for a daughter. Grief turned into legend. Maya walked barefoot through her home, each step drawing gasps. Her face was still that of a 12-year-old, yet her eyes were deep, aged, filled with visions of things no child should carry. Some villagers bowed, others whispered, a few ran. She had become something between girl and ghost, a memory returned with a heartbeat. Weeks later, Maya began transforming her mother's hut. She planted herbs along the windows. She lit sacred oils at dusk. Orphans, the sick, and the sorrowful began to come. Maya greeted them all with warmth, placing her hands on their wounds, speaking to their pain with songs only she knew. The hut became a sanctuary, a place where even silence was allowed to weep. Word spread quickly. Maya, the returned, walked barefoot across the sacred stones at the edge of the village. These stones, known as the bones of fire, had blistered the feet of grown men. Yet Maya moved across them with grace, her expression distant, her eyes fixed on a place no one else could see. She did not flinch, she did not bleed, and with every step, the villagers felt the weight of mystery settle heavier in their chests. One morning, a boy with trembling limbs and sunken cheeks was brought to Maya. His mother, desperate, knelt before her. Maya knelt as well, placing her hands on the boy's temples and whispering words in a forgotten tongue. The boy's breathing slowed, his fingers stopped shaking. A moment later, he opened his eyes, calm, focused, whole. Around them, the villagers wept. Maya stood, silent as ever. She did not claim to be a healer, but her presence changed what pain could endure. From the safety of their carved chairs beneath the acacia shade, the village elders observed. They had seen war, famine, flood, and betrayal, but they had never seen anything like her. They whispered among themselves, uncertain whether Maya was a blessing or a prophecy in motion. Their eyes were cautious, their prayers louder. In every generation, they said, a bridge was born. And Maya, untouched by time, was surely that bridge between the world of the living and the realm of the spirits. Maya often wandered alone to the edge of the dense forest, where the wind carried whispers and the trees seemed to lean in close. There, she stood barefoot on the mossy floor, head tilted as if listening to a distant melody. Her face would soften, her lips would move without sound. She once told a child, "They're not gone, you know. The ancestors, they're just quieter than we are." She spoke with a certainty no one dared question. Every full moon, Maya returned to the exact place where the fig tree had stood, now just a silent ring of grass-covered ash. She built a small fire and placed offerings of honey, carved stones, and feathers. Then she sang. Her voice, both aching and holy, echoed off the cliffs and returned to her like a distant echo. It was the same lullaby her mother once sang under that cursed tree. Now, it was a hymn of memory, of release. At sunset, children gathered at Maya's feet. They sat cross-legged in the red dust, eyes wide with wonder. Maya told them stories, of rivers that spoke, of stars that fell to earth, of a girl who disappeared and came back with eyes like flame. Her voice rose and fell like the wind over the grasslands. She didn't use books. Her memory was her library. Her presence, the page. The children listened as if their very hearts were being rewritten. She no longer walked alone. Behind Maya followed a group of young girls, curious, courageous, and clothed in vibrant colors. They carried satchels of herbs, scrolls of ancestral songs, and tools for healing. Maya led them not as a priestess or queen, but as a sister who knew pain and power alike. The villagers began to call them the Daughters of Ash, for they rose from the place where sorrow once burned, reborn as keepers of light. Some nights, when the moon was high and the village slept, Maya walked to the quiet rise where her mother's spirit now rested. She brought wildflowers, sometimes honey, and always silence. She sat cross-legged and spoke softly. "I lived, Mama. I'm still living, but I miss you every time the wind sings." The moon bathed her in silver light, and in those moments, even the stars seemed to pause, listening to a love that would never fade. Years passed, and the villagers, once fearful, began to plant again where the fig tree once ruled. But this time, not a cursed tree, but a garden. Wildflowers, ancestral plants, herbs of healing, stones marked with the names of those once lost. At the center stood a sculpture of Yelena holding Maya, carved from river stone and clay. The area was no longer cursed. It had become a place of memory, of grief honored, of mothers remembered. And so, one dawn, Maya stood atop the crimson hill overlooking Lulama. Her braids danced with the wind. Her eyes held no fear, only purpose. She had seen death and returned. She had known loss and become legacy. Beneath her feet, the land pulsed with memory. Before her, the horizon called with promise. She was not a ghost, not a miracle, not a child. She was a living story, and she would write every next chapter with fire, with love, and with her mother's song on her lips.